Windbreaker Season 2, Kaji was introduced. What a great introduction. Oh, ironic. Great introduction. Okay, universe. I get it. Touche. Landscape page, use a pencil, use an eraser. Hit pause. If I go too fast, we are going to start with his big eyes. Big eyes in this anime. Tokyo Revengers kind of style. So we'll go kind of diagonal. And then they're kind of flat across the top. You know, so they kind of go like down the back. It is a dark, thick line. So, you know, you got like an extra little space. And then it's like thicker the whole way around. So it's like a heavy black. And his eyebrow kind of touches the top of it, but we'll just fill this in first. So the bottom eyelid then, it's a much thinner line like that. Might be a little eyelid line there. And then his iris, so he's looking menacing, so half circle, and then another sort of like black pupil. It's not like perfectly circular, it's nearly like a cat's eye kind of. His eyebrow comes across this eyelid line and goes back that way, like a check mark. And it's underneath his hair, but we'll draw it all in and we can erase any lines we shouldn't see afterwards. So you add a little space that you can color, and it's always thinner at the end. And he's frowning pretty heavy, so like another sort of frown line there. And some wrinkles just in at his nose. He's not happy. So the other eye, so the eyes in this anime are like bigger than standard, right? So if you're wondering how far over you want to come, I would say 3/4 of his eye. So like from the tear duct area to the edge of his iris is probably the width that I would use, because the eyes are so big. So about that much, come over and then start your next big crazy thick eyelid line. Okay, and they're kind of like box-like, you know, little edges to them. His eyebrow comes over this as well, but we'll just thicken it up, right? Very heavy. Very heavy dark line. And a thin one on the bottom. And then again, this angry sort of iris, which is just a half circle coming down from the top. And then here. That sort of cat-like pupil. Like so. So then, eyebrow again. So touching his eyelid line, coming across it, right? So it kind of comes down here, touches that. That's basically a sort of a check mark back that way. And then you want to add a space that you can add a little bit of pale sort of blonde coloring, and it's always thinner at the back. Boom, 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 boom. And he's got like some extra little frown lines and stuff. Means business. So his nose, fairly straightforward. We have a bridge of a nose line. And then they do, for the tip of his nose, this kind of thing. So they have like the tip of the nose and then like the skin of the nostril. It's kind of like a T, sort of going diagonal. Capital T or J or something. And then his other nostril is just a curved line like that. So just mouth, simple enough, downturned, sort of flat, and they do 3 sort of lines like that. And we are going to do, you could join those all together if you want. I'm going to add the lollipop coming out. It's not in the image I picked, but I mean, we have to do it, right? The little white stick. And then his bottom lip. Just there. And his chin is real pointy. Proportions, okay? Here to here. So say top eyelid to just the bottom of his nose is about the same as bottom of the nose to the chin, nearly. Bit of wiggle room because his head is like tilted forward a little bit, but here to here is roughly same as here to here. Okay, and then here to bottom lip, about the same as bottom lip to chin. That's rough proportions of his face. Jaw then comes out. You're aiming for just the corners, see underneath the corners of his eye and maybe across from his top lip. So we'll try that now. So we're aiming for like here maybe, because that's where it changes and goes, curves up that way. So just the corner of his jaw, about there, underneath. So in this space, roughly. And then we'll curve it up. It doesn't have to be exactly that, but you know, roughly there. And then you want to curve it up, change your angle of line. Go that way. Kind of like a wine glass. Most face shapes are that, especially in animations. Lots of hair on this dude. So his ears kind of stick out just here in line with the eyebrow, but we've got like a hair spike over it. There's loads, but roughly there's like one on each side there, and then the ears come out from there. And ears in general line up. Top is roughly eyebrow, bottom is roughly nose, tip of the nose. That space. Especially when a character is looking straight forward. When they're looking up or down, it's different. So ear lines, so roughly they do that. I know this is going to sound strange, but he looks like One Punch Man. Just a bald head. Anyway, that's going to annoy some people maybe. But we'll go fringe, right? Now, lots of this. There's like 40 of these spikes, okay? He has very fine blonde hair, so we will do our best. So you're just going to curve it around, and it like curves around his face. It's a bowl cut sort of thing. Okay, I'm not saying much, it's just the same process over and over. You're just doing these curved spikes. Okay, so keep going. Oh, my kid's trying to get into my room. Okay, so there's like one couple that come down like the center here of his head. And then there's like sort of texture lines and stuff. Okay, so roughly, eyes are halfway down the head to the skull, right? But there's a hair on top. So I'd say this whole space, say even chin to eyebrow, will bring you up near to the top of his skull. Say like this spike. So like that and that are about the same. But you got to go up a little bit higher because the hair grows out from the top of the head. You might not have known that. But say like there. So we're aiming for kind of there. And then it kind of hangs down behind his ears. So we're just going to go. And it could be like round, but I think I've seen his hair sort of bumping sometimes. So we're aiming for like there. Depends on the picture. It's kind of like that, right? And then spikes just here. Behind his head. And so roughly speaking, that's his head shape. So then, neck. And he's got those headphones and stuff, so there's a bit of detail down in the lower half of his body as well. So his neckline here. And they do a shadow actually, like a spiky shadow underneath his chin. So it's all black just inside here. Right, and then neck muscles, just going diagonally towards the center of his body. And then we got to deal with those massive headphones. So, curving like that, either side. There's a bit of detail in these now. So there are all these curves. And then there's like a little latch or something on top, like a connection. And I'm just going to try and do the same each side. Right then. Man-made objects are always tricky. So there's like an extra, like lots of little sort of edge lines and stuff to all this plastic, you know. but roughly that's what we're dealing with. There's this little ellipse sort of there, boop, like so, and edge lines to this plastic. And this goes around his head, well, his neck really, so there. It's like the part that sits on his head. That's why my brain said that. So it wasn't me who said it, it was my brain. So just these extra little things there. It's like a strap, basically. And then his hoodie sort of goes this way on the inside. And then hoodie around. Just this random sort of bump shape. See, that's kind of sitting on his shoulder. Bump, little angle. Comes down, folding lines inside. Shoulders come off. And that is Kaji. If you want, you can add scratches to his face, bit of blood, because it's Windbreaker, obviously. But there you go. Hope it's helpful. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.